Alright guys, in today's video I'm going to introduce you guys to a brand new game. Well, actually it's not brand new. The game has been out for almost 5 years now. I just have never covered it on my channel before, but it's going to be One Piece Fighting Pass. Now, this game, a lot of you guys probably already heard of it because it's actually a very well made game. It's by far the best One Piece game in my opinion. But the unfortunate thing is that it's only on the Chinese server right now. There's no news of global release at all. And right now we're almost approaching the 5-year anniversary for the Chinese server. And yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like there will be ever a global release, unfortunately. So if you do actually want to play this game, first of all, the timing is actually quite good right now because it's almost our 5-year anniversary. So they are actually giving out lots of rewards and freebies, etc. And I will also show you guys how to actually install this game towards the end of the video if you're interested. Okay, so let me do a quick overview of exactly what this game is. Now, like I said, this game is obviously based on One Piece, and it's kind of like a gacha fighting game. In some sense, it's quite similar to Bleach Soul Resonance. Well, actually, I would say Bleach Soul Resonance is more similar to this game, obviously, because this game has been running for so much longer. Now, this game, because it's only on the Chinese server, everything is going to be written in Chinese. However, if you do install it in the method, which I'm going to show you at the end of the video, you will be downloaded from a platform called X7GAME, and they do actually have a built-in translation system. So basically, once you actually open up the game, there will be a button on the left-hand side. If you actually click on there, what's going to happen is that there will be a button popping up saying translation. If you actually click on translation, there's different modes. I normally go for the screen one. You can then click on the screen. It will show up this button, which you can use it to hide wherever you want. And then when you actually press it, it will just translate everything on the screen for you. Now, obviously, some of the formatting are not going to be ideal, but you should be able to get a pretty good understanding of what all of the words are trying to say in this game by using this built-in translation system. Okay. Now, this game is made up of both a gacha collection and also a fighting combat system. So let me talk through the gacha first and then move on to combat. So on the gacha side, so obviously there are lots of different characters from the One Piece universe that you can collect. There tend to be multiple different copies or sims of the same character as well. So here you can see there's the Nami, and then there's also the other version of Nami, the base version of Nami. And that's kind of like a recurring sim here as well. So you can see here there's the fifth gear Luffy, and then there's the normal standard Luffy, etc. Now, in terms of the character themselves, obviously there is kind of like a star level and also the level itself, which you can actually level up. But then on top of that, there are also other ways of how you can make them stronger. So, for example, the standard ones is if you actually have fragments of the character, which I guess you can think of them as dupes. So when you summon, there's a chance of you not just getting the character, but also some fragments of the character. So basically, this is kind of like the duping system. There's also a bit of like affinity system, which you can use to basically increase affinity or the bond between you and also the character. And then the next one you have is kind of like the card or the memory that you can equip on the characters themselves. You actually have set effect depending on what kind of cards you have. So obviously if you have multiple cards of the same picture or same image, you're going to get additional buff to them as well. And then you also have kind of like this awakening system, which is basically just extra stats that you're able to unlock, and there's actually a huge number of different layers that you're able to unlock. Okay, so this is kind of almost like a never-ending story as well. You can always make your character even stronger. So that's kind of awakening system. Then lastly, we also have a badge system, which I guess is just another way of, let's say, the potential system. So you can equip basically 4 different types of potential onto your characters. Now, all of those resources can be farmed. So the idea scenario is that you basically log onto your account, you complete various different missions to farm off those resources. Now, in terms of the different things that you can do, so this is where you'll be farming off your resources. Okay, some of them are daily times, so basically you can only farm a certain number of times per day. Some of them is more like weekly, etc. And then you also have some boss battles and other stuff as well here. Now, in terms of the other game modes that you can also do, there's also kind of like an idle system, which is kind of in the form of this ship. So this ship is made up of different cabins. Each cabin is able to basically collect different resources. So, for example, this one is kind of meat, which is essentially the same thing as like stamina. So when you try to attempt very different game modes, etc., sometimes they require stamina. So basically, this meat is the stamina that you're able to collect. So you're able just to passively get that from this idle system. Same thing with other, for example, this one is kind of you're able to get experience for your characters, etc. Okay, so those are kind of all the resources you're able to farm without actually playing the game itself. Now, in terms of the actual gameplay here, it's basically I'm showing you the story mode right now. So the story kind of just follows the arcs of the One Piece. The way it works is that you kind of have this main character that you can roam around. The main thing here is that every now and then you may have different characters with different missions that you can speak to them to basically take your mission and then you try to complete them, etc. There's also this quick navigation which would then quickly just point you to the next stage in the story mode. So for example, if I enter here, what's going to happen is that you choose your characters to actually go into combat. And now let me show you the actual combat system in this game. So combat in this game is kind of made up of both a PvP and also PvE element. In PvE, you'll be up against the bots, and also there'll be a huge number of enemies, whereas in PvP, it's going to be one-on-one, okay? So the combat system is like this. So all of the characters are going to have different skills that they're able to use, and also there's a huge button here with the fist, so that's going to basic attack, which you can basically just attack multiple times, etc. Then you can use a skill attack, which does have a cooldown limit, and then you're also able to combo it up with other skills. So basically, for example, you may have noticed when I press certain things, another button will be popping up, and that's kind of the combo you're able to execute, etc. And then obviously you also have like ultimate attack, etc., which can make it even stronger. So that's kind of the main idea here. And this is going to be a PvE, which you need to fight against multiple characters. If you don't actually want to battle it yourself, you can also put it on into this, which is basically auto mode, okay? So you don't actually need to control the character yourself if you don't want to. Now, in actual PvP mode, like I said, it's going to be one-on-one. So in which case, you won't have all those minions to fight, and it's just going to be more a matter of you versus the opponent to see which one of you guys are going to have a better understanding of different kinds of skill set, move set, because one important thing is that you need to know when enemy is about to use which attack so that you can then dodge at the right moment. Okay, and then once you have completed all of the battle, under certain condition, you're obviously going to get star ratings for them, and 3 stars is going to be the highest rating for it. Okay, so that's going to be a quick show of kind of the combat system in this game. Now, the last thing I'll probably show you guys now is going to be the gacha system. I'm not too sure how much resources I actually have, but let me just quickly try to do 1 or 2 for you guys. So for example, this one, let me just quickly do this one. One thing I forgot to mention is that the banners in this game actually last really long time. So if you take a look at this, the banner actually lasts for about 6 weeks, which is very long in terms of gacha. So there's definitely not so much risk of missing out on a banner just because you didn't log on for a few days, which I think is quite nice. Now, just to show you, for example, the banner details, etc., it does have a pity system here, so it's going to be 90 summons, and there's a 50-50, and the pity does carry over as well. Okay, so it's not guaranteed that you'll be able to get this character, for example, Buggy, in 90 summons. However, there's a 50-50 chance, and even if you don't get it, then the next time you got another 90 pity, you'll be guaranteed to it. And if you don't have enough resources, it'll be carried over to the next banner. Okay, so now let me do a quick summon just to show you guys the summon animation. So it starts off with Luffy trying to find basically the person that you'll be trying to summon for. Here you are able to draw whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. You can just skip it. It's gonna pretend it found the character you drew, but yeah, so in this case what I got is a fragment rather than the character itself. And remember, in this game you are actually able to collect multiple fragments in order to merge them into a character, and also the fragments are used to actually dupe up the character essentially. Let me just try to do one more to see whether or not I can get a character this time around. Okay, so this is an actual character, and as you can see here, there's going to be the summoning animation for that character as well. Now, if you like what you have seen so far and want to try this game, here's how to do so. So I'll be sharing this link in the comment section. All you have to do is click on it and then click this button on the right hand side to download for iOS or download for Android. This will download the APK for X7GAME platform rather than the game itself. So what's going to happen is that you will install X7GAME, which is essentially like the Chinese version of Google Play, and it will look something like this once you open it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to this Me section just to create an account. Creating an account is actually really easy. easy here. So you click on this profile in order to log in. Here you can enter whatever email you want, and rather than actually needing to set up a password for it, all you have to do is get a code, and basically this will actually send a code to your email, and basically this pass the way of you actually needing to set up a password for it, and every single time you just basically log in with the code in your email address. Okay, now once you have done this, you can then go into this section to search for whatever game you want to play. So for example, if you search for One Piece Fighting Pass, you will see this APK here, and then what you have to do is click on it to actually install it, and then afterwards just open up and enjoy the game.